What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Good With Project. I'm your host, Jerry Scarlato, and today we have a Lessons from History episode. The reason that we have lessons from history is because the greatest thing that we learn from history is that human beings do not learn from history. They do a terrible job of learning from the past. We do a terrible job of learning from our mistakes unless we recognize that we can learn from things that happened in the past and we can adjust what we do today so that we can have a better future. Then there is almost zero chance, well, not zero, there's a less likelihood that we'll actually be able to have a better future for ourselves, for everybody else. We do a terrible job of learning as individuals. We do a terrible job of learning as societies. Today, we're going to be talking about mostly on a societal level, but as individuals, we do a terrible job of learning also. That's why so many people fail at trying to achieve the things that they want to achieve. How many times have you tried to lose weight, for instance? How many times have you set a New Year's resolution? How many times have you set any goal, the same goal? Numerous times. How many times have you done that? But for most people, the answer is a lot of times. It's not because you're a failure. It's not because you're an idiot. It's not because you aren't capable of achieving things. It's not because you're dumb. It's not because you don't have the skills and abilities. Well, that's a lie. You don't currently have the skills and abilities, but you can learn them because anybody else who has achieved the things that you want to achieve is not special. At any rate, the reason that you've done it is simply because you haven't learned from your mistakes. It's not because the diet was wrong. It's not because the exercise program was wrong. It's not because the marketing strategy was wrong. It's not because the investment strategy was wrong. It's the way you went about it that was wrong. It's because you didn't develop the skills and abilities to push through the discomfort of it. It's because you didn't change your mindset. It's because you didn't develop yourself into a different person. So on an individual level, that's what not learning from history looks like. On a societal level, it looks like what we're going through today. Today, we're going to be talking about two failed stories of socialism. Now, socialism has been tried over and over and over and over again. Over and over again, it continues to be try, fail, try, fail. We're just going to be talking about two of the stories of socialism from many moons ago, because that is the direction in which many people in the government today continue to push the United States of America. In many westernized countries that thrive on some form of capitalism, doesn't matter if it's the form of capitalism that we say we have in America today, which is much less capitalistic than we tend to believe that it is. But a free market in general, many westernized societies have a free market, and yet many of those societies are also pushing toward a socialist agenda. Now, in the United States, socialism has been around for a long time. We've actually been indoctrinated in socialism over the last 100 years plus. In 1913, socialism was really when socialism ideas were introduced in the United States. I'm sure before that, but that's when they really started to be integrated into the United States. Woodrow Wilson, bless his soul, is the one that actually started the federal income tax. Before that, there were no federal income tax, and the government got all of its money, most of its money, from tariffs, from exchange from to and from foreign countries. But there was no individual federal income tax. Now, of course, we have it. We have a tiered federal income tax, and ever since it was introduced, I think it was like 1% maybe when he introduced it in 1913, and of course ever since then it has only gone up and continued to go up. That was just the beginning, a small soiree into socialist ideas. After that, FDR, bless his soul, everyone tends to believe that FDR was this great thinker and man. He was a thinker for sure, but he basically is the one that supplanted us into socialist ideas, beginning with his social reforms, many of which are today, and most of them are bankrupt and not doing well. And then the Great Society after that from, I can't remember his name, whoever came after FDR. Anyway, there was a period of time for about 20 or 30 years around the world wars, World War I and World War II, where socialist ideas just started to be basically shoved into society and shoved into the United States. So we have social ideas, we have socialist ideas, and we live with them daily. A couple of examples are Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, Section 8 housing, welfare. Like, those are all socialist ideas. All things that we as a society today believe are normal and believe are things that we deserve and believe are things that we have a right to. Those are all socialist ideas. Now, it's worth differentiating between a socialist society and a capitalistic society. On either extreme, there are poor outcomes. When you have a fully socialist society, bad things happen, as we're going to see here in a second. We have a fully capitalistic society. Competition reigns and bad things happen. There's certainly evils, if you will, on either extremes, which is a big reason why socialistic ideas started to be introduced into the United States in the first place, because of companies and organizations such as John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil, which I've talked about recently on a Lessons from History, Andrew Carnegie's U.S. Steel. Those are two behemoths that pop off the top of my head, but it's because of organizations like that that socialistic ideas started to be introduced into society. So on either extreme, things can start to go awry, and for sure, bad outcomes can happen. So probably there's a Goldilocks zone somewhere. But the question is, will human beings ever be patient enough to find that Goldilocks zone? And the answer is probably not, because we are human beings, and which is totally fine and the way that it should be. Like, we want to fight for the things that we believe, and you want to improve society. And some people believe there's ways to do it, and some people believe there's other ways to do it. The question is, what has history shown us? That's the question. And thus far, history has shown us that when you move more toward a socialistic society, that things don't go well. So that's why we learn from history. That's why we look at things that have happened in the past so that we can understand how to make better decisions, how to improve our thinking, and then how to take different actions today. So the two ideas that I want to look at, the two examples that I want to look at, one is from Rome from many moons ago, and then one is from China, not so many moons ago. So the first one is from Rome. The emperor during that time, his name was Diocletian. This was in 301 AD. Actually, it was when Diocletian came to power and introduced this socialist regime, if you will. And there's a couple of passages from this book. The Lessons of History actually is the name of the book, from Will and Ariel Durant. Great book, very short, old school book, very short but very good. Helps you understand a couple of areas of society and a couple of basic lessons that we can learn from it. And one of the chapters is socialism and history. And it helps us understand how socialism has been around for a very long time, many, many thousands of years, and how there's really ever only been one society that has thrived off of socialism for any longer than maybe a couple of hundred years. So at any rate, without going down that rabbit hole, let's look and see what Diocletian did and why his socialism regime did not pan out the way that he had hoped it panned out. Because, of course, he started to do it because there was a discrepancy in society. There were the ultra-rich and there were the poor. And the poor people, which were the masses, were getting antsy and they were getting worked up and they were starting to get out of hand, and so on and so forth. And so Diocletian introduced this socialist regime. So here's some of the things that he did. Let's see, where do I want to start? Okay, here we go. Faced with increasing poverty and restlessness among the masses, and with imminent danger of barbarian invasion, he issued in AD 301 an edictum de pretis, which denounced monopolists for keeping goods from the market to raise prices and set maximum prices and wages for all important articles and services. So let's go ahead and pause right there. He set maximum prices and wages for all important articles and services and denounced monopolists for keeping goods from the market to raise prices. So what's happening right now as we speak? What is the government saying right now as we speak? What is Kamala Harris saying right now as we speak about the market and about inflation and about the reason that goods are going up? What are they saying? Price gouging. Because companies and organizations are doing these terrible things, they are raising the prices and they are causing the prices of things to go up and they are causing inflation. Therefore, when I am elected, here's what I'll do. I'm going to set price structures. I'm going to set price limits on things so that companies and organizations can only charge X amount for a certain thing. That way, prices can't go up. That way, prices won't increase. And this is what the Democratic view is. This is what the Democratic belief is, that if we set the price for things, that will even things out. So that's one of the things that Diocletian did. Then, let's see what else he did. The government, which already owned most mines, quarries, and salt deposits, brought nearly all major industries and guilds under detailed control. In every large town, we are told, the state became a powerful employer, standing head and shoulders above the private industrialists who were in any case crushed by taxation. When businessmen predicted ruin, Diocletian explained that the barbarians were at the gate and that individual liberty had to be shelved until collective liberty could be made secure. Let me read that again, because that part is equally as important. When businessmen predicted ruin, Diocletian explained that the barbarians were at the gate and that individual liberty had to be shelved until collective liberty could be made secure. So what's happening? Kamala Harris, the Democratic side of the government, not all of it, but the extreme side. What are they saying? The barbarians are at the gate, and we need to make sure to stay in power so that we can save everybody. We need to make sure that we stay here for the time being so that we can save everybody. And by barbarians, who do I mean? Who are they saying is the barbarian? Who? Say it. Donald Trump. They are saying that Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans, and that includes MAGA societal Republicans, if you are one of them, one of the people that believe in making, for God's sake, making America great again, if you're one of the people they believe, barbarian, you are a barbarian to them. That's what they believe. That is what they say. Those are the words that they come out of their mouth. So literally, their beliefs. All these things, what the two sentences I have said so far is literally what's happening right now. That's crazy. So the barbarians are at the gate, and we need to be able to stay in power so that we can fix society as a whole, so that we can do that. That's what's being said right now as we speak. Okay, back to the book. Just wanted to point that out. Learn from history. That's what we're trying to do here. Okay, so let's see what happened. The task of controlling men in economic detail proved too much for Diocletian's expanding, expensive, and corrupt bureaucracy. To support his officialdom, the army, the court, public works, and the dole, taxation rose to such heights that men lost incentive to work or earn, and an erosive contest began between lawyers finding devices to evade taxes and lawyers formulating laws to prevent evasion. Thousands of Romans, to escape the tax gatherer, fled over the frontiers to seek refuge among the barbarians. Seeking to check the elusive mobility and to facilitate regulation and taxation, The government issued decrees binding the peasant to his field and the worker to his shop until all his debts and taxes had been paid. So essentially, the system broke down because it got too big. And, well, funny thing is, whenever you have a government that runs things, it needs money. And it gets money through taxation. That's how it gets money. How else does it develop money? So it gets money through taxation. Things got so big, the government got so bloated, and taxation went so high that things started to collapse and people got pissed off. That's what happened. So they started to run away. They started to go literally into barbarian lands. In case you haven't studied Rome at all or haven't studied ancient times at all, which I highly suggest you do because then you get to learn from history. So if you haven't done that at all, Rome called anybody essentially outside of the Roman Empire barbarians. Anybody who was trying to attack them, they were called barbarians. So when they say that people fled to barbarian lands, they were just fleeing out of Rome so that because they were so taxed and they were so indebted because they went and got loans from the government who gave them loans at low interest payments. And those loans were to pay off their taxes because their taxes were so high. That's what was happening. So what did the government do? The government said, no, you can't go anywhere. You have to stay. You, peasant, have to stay on this land until your debts are paid. You, shop worker, shop owner, have to stay in your shop and you have to work until your taxes are paid. You are not allowed to do anything else. Otherwise, you will be shot. Well, they didn't have guns back then, so they probably didn't say that. But nonetheless, I'm sure there was a very high penalty, probably death, if they didn't do so. So that is just one example of the way that socialism did not pan out well. And in that one example alone, we have connections to today, to what's happening right now. Literally, the propaganda, the words that are being spewed, the ideas that are being said, literally the same thing is happening. Just to reiterate, I'm not going to go back and read the whole thing, but to reiterate, they set maximum prices and set wages for all important articles and services. So they blamed big food distributors, whatever that would look like in ancient Rome, for prices. And then they set wages and set prices. And then they had to raise taxes because they started to take in all of the industry. Literally, they started buying up all the industry or creating industry so that they could run it. But they did such a poor job of it. They needed to create more taxes, or they needed more taxes. But small businesses were going out of business because of the taxes. And then people tried to flee. And then they said, no, you ain't going nowhere. You sit your ass right down and you work until you pay us back. But people got pissed. And luckily back then you were able to actually, do something about it. And people did something about it. I don't know exactly what that something was, but nonetheless, you can use your imagination. So that's just one example of how socialism didn't work out, and how propaganda is being used today to try and manipulate us to think about, or trying to manipulate us in such a way that we think about a person or society so that we continue down this spiraling downward path. All of the words that are being said today are used for that purpose. Most of them are being used for that purpose and that purpose solely. So let's see here. The other example is from China, not so far back as 301 AD. This is from China. The dictator at the time was Wang Anshi. And he was dictator from 1068 to 1085. 1068 to 1085. So 17 years, he gave it a try. And let's see how it worked out for him. So first, here's what happened. The state, he held, should take the entire management of commerce, industry, and agriculture into its own hands, with a view to succoring the working classes and preventing them from being ground into the dust by the rich. So he starts off by saying the government needs to take control of industry, needs to take control of basically everything, the land, everything, because the rich people are the bad people, and we don't want the poor people, the masses, to be, basically put to dust because of the rich people. So he rescued the peasants from the moneylenders by loans at low interest. So first he said, okay, well, we'll give you loans instead of your current loans, which are at a high rate. I'm going to give you a loan at a lower rate so that you can pay off your current high rate loans. Cool. Sounds great. He encouraged new settlers by advancing them seed and other aid to be repaid out of the later yield of their land. So any new people that wanted to come to China, he would give them seed so that they would settle and create a farm, and then you can pay us back once you start to actually, once the land, actually bears fruit and you start to sell and make money. He organized great engineering works and to control floods and check unemployment. Boards were appointed in every district to regulate wages and prices. I'll say that again. Boards were appointed in every district to regulate wages and prices. Commerce was nationalized. Pensions were provided for the aged, the unemployed, and the poor. So that, like I said, we already have socialism literally in the United States, and that's one way we have it. Pensions were provided for the aged, the unemployed, and the poor. So the aged, that is socialism, Social Security, and Medicare. The unemployed, that is unemployment insurance, and the poor. So there's Medicaid and food stamps and things along those lines. So literally we have the same thing. We give the aged, the unemployed, and the poor, we give them things, we give them money, we go ahead and say, here, you don't worry about it, we'll take care of you. Also, boards were appointed in every district to regulate wages and prices. I keep repeating that because we already said Diocletian, that's what he tried, gave it the good old college try, and it didn't pan out. And what is happening today? Same thing is happening. We're being told that we need to regulate and we need to set price structures. I don't think that Kamala Harris or anybody has said anything about setting wage structures and making sure that people get paid a certain wage. But the idea of an income, I forget what it's actually called, universal income, I think. A universal income has been floated around. So that would be the same idea. Like, just give everybody a X amount of dollars, and that way they can do whatever. Okay, back to our story. So what undermined the experiment? What undermined this socialism experiment? First, high taxes, surprise, surprise, laid upon all to finance a swelling band of governmental employees. Same exact thing that we saw with Diocletian. Because the government was getting so big, how do you pay for all of these people? How do you pay for all of these things that we need to run? The way that you pay for them is through taxes. That is the way that you pay for them. How do you collect taxes when all the people are working for the government? Somewhere the wheel has to stop spinning or breaks because there's so much weight on one side of the wheel. Second, conscription of a male in every family to man the armies made necessary by barbarian invasions. So again, China believed that they were being invaded by barbarians, and they actually took a male from every household, and that male had to be part of the armies so that they could protect themselves from barbarians. If you look at what's happening over in Europe right now, Ukraine and Israel, like the United States keeps talking about going and supporting and helping Ukraine and Israel. Why would we do that? I don't have any clue. But if it ever got to that point, this is exactly what would happen. They would take men from the United States and go abroad and fight someone else's fucking war. Why? Why would that happen? Why would that need to be done? Anyway, third, where am I? Third, corruption in the bureaucracy. That was the third reason, was the downfall of the Great Experiment, which, if you look at the government in general, and this is not a one side or the other thing, this is everybody. If we're being totally honest, corruption is through and through what is a big reason why it is hard to make really sustainable change happen in the government, is because of corruption, whatever you want to define corruption as. But because there aren't guards up, because there aren't term limits for certain offices, because of other things, it makes it easy for someone to get into office and stay in office and make money off of their handshakes with other people. I mean, it makes it very simple and easy to do that. What's up, guys? I want to jump in here real quick and talk to you about achieving your goals. If you're listening to this podcast, then I know you want to achieve something extraordinary in life, whether that's building a business, getting in the best shape possible, or maximizing your time with your family. And if you want to do any of those things, there's two things you need to be able to master. One of them is time, and the other one is productivity. It starts with managing your time and being able to eliminate the things that are getting in your way, so that then you can set your goals and start to break them down into actionable steps and take those steps and interject them into your life so that you can take action and turn those dreams into reality. And in order to help you do that, I created the Alpha Life Action Plan. It's literally a 90-day action plan that does both of those things. Starts with taking your time, figuring out where you're spending it, eliminating the things or delegating the things that you don't need to do so that you can free up your time to then set your goals and break them down into action steps and start to take action on them so that you can achieve the things that you want in life. The Alpha Life Action Plan is yours for free. All you have to do is cover shipping. You can go to goodwolfproject.us/action plan and put in your information there and have it sent to you ASAP. That's goodwolfproject.us/action plan, so you can start to take action on those goals and dreams you want to create the life that you deserve. So that's just two examples out of a number of examples that are in this book alone. And you see this book isn't very big, and that chapter of the book is maybe only 20 pages. So the examples that they use in here are just a fraction of the actual examples and the actual failures that socialism has brought about in many other times of history and many other parts of the world. So we need to be able to look at that and learn our lesson. Now, I'm sure you think, well, Jerry, that was a long time ago. One was in 1068 to 1085. The other one was in 301 AD. That's almost 1,800 years ago, 1,800 years ago. That's a long time ago. Jerry, we have a lot more technology now. We have a lot more, or we're a lot smarter than they were back then. I mean, certainly we are. They were just silly, ancient people. They couldn't have known much. How would they know to do that correctly? We've got to be able to do that better now. Well, I can tell you for certain we are not smarter than people from 1,800 years ago, from 1,000 years ago. The human being, the human brain, the human intellect has not raised over that amount of time. Human intellect is not. Technology has, certainly. Certainly they did not have smartphones 1,000 years ago. But technology doesn't make a human being itself smarter. It makes it easier to do things. It makes it easier to run things. It makes it easier to be more efficient. But it does not make a human smarter. So no, we are not smarter, and we are not all of a sudden going to be able to run this socialist experiment better because we had this hubris about us that we are the best, that those silly idiots back in the day can't do it. We can do it better today. I'm certain that the China guy, I can't remember his name, in 1068, he thought the same thing about Diocletian from 301 AD, and Diocletian thought about the same thing whoever ran socialism 300 years before he did. So they all thought that, well, whoever did it before me, they were dumb and they didn't do it right, so I can do it right this time. Now, again, Capitalism at the extreme certainly has its downfalls. So there's a Goldilocks somewhere. And we've already surpassed that a long time here in the United States. And I don't think that human beings will ever allow themselves to find that Goldilocks zone. So what we need to do as a society is start to recognize what we can do to make sure that we learn from history and we start to make different and better decisions so that we can have better outcomes. And the reason this is important is because, people are looking at Donald Trump and Kamala Harris and they're going, those people, whoever you believe, that person's going to save our fucking society. That person's going to save the country. Whichever one you believe is going to do it, you think that that's what's going to happen. But that ain't fucking true. It's not true. Society, the culture of society is what will define what will happen. No matter what. No matter if Kamala Harris or Donald Trump gets elected, does not matter. The culture of society is what will define it. And right now, we're a bunch of fucking lazy asses that take no responsibility and want everyone else to take care of us. And that's really what happened. In 1913, when Woodrow Wilson started to make changes in society and started to take responsibility away from us, that's what happened. When FDR started putting in Social Security and welfare and things like that, that's what happened. Don't worry, we will take care of you. You don't have to take care of yourself. The healthcare system that got launched after World War II, the pharmaceutical system that got launched after World War II, after penicillin was found by, I can't remember his name right now. Anyway, that's what they're doing to us. And because society has bought the fucking lie, we are in a place where we have just given up our freedom for everything and said, yes, please. I'll work for somebody. I'll let my doctor take care of me. I'll let the pharmacy inject me with shit. I'll, if things don't work out and I, get fired, whatever, I'll collect unemployment. And then I won't save any money. Whenever I retire, I'll just collect Social Security. Rely. That's all that's happening. So how do we turn things around? It begins by taking a step to responsibility. In some area of life, choose something. Choose something in life to say, I am taking hold of this and I am taking responsibility. This is something that I'm going to control because I want my freedom. And if I follow suit and I build this for myself, my neighbor will see, my family will see, the people around me, my friends will see, and they may go, hey, that's interesting what Johnny's doing over there. He looks like a different person. He's acting like a different person. I wonder if I did something like he's doing, if I would be able to feel the same way. And then they might change. And then maybe someone near them sees what they're doing, and then they change. And that's how, by an individual choosing to take responsibility for their health or for their finances or for something in their life, that's how a culture changes, is by one person choosing to do it, and then another person, and then another person, because that one person started the whole fucking thing. That's how it happens. So if you don't think that you can change society and you can change anything and you don't matter and your vote doesn't count or whatever, your vote counts by doing something with your life. That's how it counts. By you deciding to take control and take responsibility. In some area, start somewhere. Health is the easiest place to start. Start there. Take control of your health. Start eating better. Start exercising so that you don't have to rely on a fucking doctor to take care of you, or shots or pills and all of this other nonsense. And you can get off of that dole. And then once you're there, you can move into another category. Business. I believe that most people should have their own business. Entrepreneurship is a very trendy thing right now. And most people think of business and entrepreneurship as this corporate organizational idea, meaning this big company, big corporation organizational idea. People are like, no, I don't want that. Well, that's cool. Like, you can have my one of my best friends, my training partner, Kyle James, one of my training partners, known him for a long time. And for a long time, he worked in other gyms, actually worked at Thrive, at my gym for a little bit, and then stabbed me in the back and went somewhere else. I'm just kidding if you're watching. But anyway, he worked for other people for 10 years of his working career up until now. He's my age, he's 40, so from, who knows, the age of 25 to 35, he worked for other people. That's what he did. And then he finally realized, I can probably do this on my own. I can go train, I can, set up a little thing in my basement, and I can train people out of my basement just fine. And right now, he trains people out of his basement, and he's like, dude, I make more money than I made in any of my other jobs. I work less. I enjoy what I do. I love the people. Of course, some of them can be headaches. I can attest to that. But he enjoys working with people. He likes helping people. But he basically just decided, well, I'm going to go ahead and, I'm not relying on anybody else. I'm going to go ahead and start my own thing. And he loves what he does. And he makes more money than he ever did. So, yeah, I believe that most people can run their own business. Most people can have their own business. It doesn't have to be this big idea, multiple employees or any employees if you want any employees. Like, most people say, business people who say, people don't think through starting a business because when they quit and they start a business, all they're doing is creating a job for themselves again, which is fine. Like, if you enjoy what you're doing, but you want to do it for yourself, or you have an idea of what you want to do and you're fine doing the work, then what does it matter? Then you're working for you. But the thing is, people don't understand how easy it is to actually make, $100,000 doing what you want to do in whatever area that it is for yourself. Well, if you stop working and you want to go on vacation, then the money stops coming in. It's kind of true, but if you plan for it, then what's it matter? Well, we're going on vacation this week. Okay, we're not going to make any money that week. That means the next 3 weeks after that, I got to work a little harder to catch up, and then I can go back to normal. Cool, fine. If you look at before, again, Standard Oil, U.S. Steel, and big companies came around, most people were entrepreneurs and business owners. Most people were. 80, 90% of people were entrepreneurs and business owners. It was the small shoe shop down the street, the bakery, the farmer, the guy who fixed horseshoes, the guy who built tables. That's what it was. That's what everybody did. So you can do it. And that's another way to take responsibility for yourself is to decide to do it. Take the leap, do it. You will be much happier. There's no doubt about it. So that's how we start making these changes. That's how we start to shift things. You can't control what Kamala Harris or Donald Trump's going to do if they get elected. You can make assumptions and you can cheer them on if they do things that you like. But if they do a bunch of shit you don't like, you can't control it. What you can control is you. And you can control the culture around you. That's what you can control. So if you hear somebody saying some bullshit that after listening to this today or any other of the previous lessons from history, or you actually decide to start doing your own homework and learning from history, and you hear someone saying some bullshit, you can go, no, that's not true. That's not true. I know that to not be true. And you start to change the culture by literally shifting what you say, what you do, taking responsibility for your life, starting to step out, starting your own business, doing these kinds of things. That's how things start to change. And that's how we shift society. It's not by waiting and relying on somebody else. It's not by that. If you have any thing in your mind where at the beginning of this, you're like, oh, Jerry's going to just sit here and, whatever, talk about why Kamala Harris or Democrats are bad people and Republicans. No, that's not me. Like, I'm a utility person. What is useful? What has worked? That's what I want, and that's what you should want. What is useful? What has worked for you, for your kids, for your grandkids, and so on down the line. And because we're so fucking selfish, we don't even think about our kids and our grandkids, and that's why we just lay around and we're like, whatever, we'll let them deal with it. Get up and deal with it. Do something about it. Take responsibility and make your life better, because you can do it. That's what I got for you today. Cool. Make sure you share this with somebody who needs to learn about history so that they can understand what's happening as well. Until next time, here's to your 1% growth every day.